Tonight on this edition of Mississippi Roads, we'll be exploring the town of Hernando during its annual A-Fair event. And while we're here, we take a look at an ice cream parlor that's serving up the sweets. One man makes a mission of combining new filmmakers with stories about Mississippi. And finally, a family finds something delicious in an unusual place.
Support for the arts segment of Mississippi Roads comes from the Mississippi Arts Commission, whose mission is to be a catalyst for the arts and creativity in Mississippi. Information available at www.arts.ms.gov.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Down Mississippi Road, Mississippi Road.
Hi, welcome back to Mississippi Roads. I'm your host, Walt Grayson. The town of Hernando in DeSoto County in North Mississippi has held what they call their A-Fair on the third Saturday of May every year for 40 years now, come rain or shine. Well, guess which one do we have this year? But the vendors are setting up on the historic town square back behind me, still anticipating thousands of people to show up this afternoon. The day kicks off at 7:30 in the morning with the Laurie Wiley 5K run and walk. Usually hundreds of walkers and runners show up every year at the Trustmark Bank on the square in Hernando to compete with each other or just get some exercise and friends. The crowd's a little thinner this year because of the rain. And when they're done, there's plenty to take in on the square across the street. Vendors are set up with more than 200 booths selling just about everything you can imagine. Jewelry, clothing, pottery, water and oil colors, photography, sewn and knit items, woodcraft, and just about everything in between. Well, the food vendors are beginning to set up across the street from me on the square. In no time at all, you'll be able to get any kind of exotic dish that you'd want, or didn't even know you wanted until you came here and saw it. But you don't have to wait till Fair Day to get famous food in Hernando, because right down the street is Velvet Cream. It's an ice cream stand that's been here for decades. Highway 51 running through Hernando has undergone many changes over the decades, shifting from being the main road between Memphis and Jackson when it was built to becoming more of a local route with the completion of Interstate 55. But Velvet Cream Ice Cream has been here through it all, right on the corner of 51 and Northern. It's also known as the Dip. Owner Tommy Flynn says that's a shorthand version of a nickname Velvet Cream was known as.
In the 50s, it was known as the Dippy Dough. And when rock and roll quit being rock and roll, they shortened it to rock. They shortened it at the same time to the Dip. People sign their checks, the Dip, and it'll go through.
The Dip has made changes along with Highway 51 over the years, but in more ways than it has, it also hasn't changed. Now, for instance, the way you order your food, you still walk up to the window, just as you have since 1947.
We've never gone away from that because it seems like it works. We have a few pitfalls with it. In extreme cold weather, it's very slow, but our drive-thru works.
Oh yeah, the drive-thru. That is one innovation Velvet Cream added, and they had one before anyone else. That came in the mid-1970s. Tommy Flynn is proud of it.
We had a drive-thru about 6 months before the first McDonald's had a drive-thru. I mean, anywhere. It was in the mid-70s. Nobody had that. That was a new concept.
One of the obvious additions that Tommy could have made would have been a dining room. He decided against it, too much of a break with tradition. And tradition's a big deal in an establishment like this. Ronnie Terry came to work here as a teenager, as she puts it, half a lifetime ago. She sees tradition as a big draw to Velvet Cream.
I think it's just because it's been around for so long, and it's just the quaint town, and it's just a little place that's not the normal, you know, and a lot of people like things that are different, and we don't go by the book. We do things what works best for us.
We're doing this, I'm doing it the same way I did since 1968, since I started. I haven't changed a thing. On the grill, our ice cream, our soft serve is exactly the same as it was then. I overdo everything. I overdo our fries. My dad used to get all over me because I made the fries too big. I'm still making the fries too big.
Well, one tradition at Velvet Cream is to change the constantly growing number of ice cream flavors they can conjure up.
We've got several things on our menu. It's huge. We have 258 different flavored shakes, freezes, sundaes, 258 flavors, and counting. Every year we add to the menu, and it accumulates.
You know, I mean, we have, you know, things on the menu as crazy as mule slobber and purple cow and pink elephant. We've got a dirt sundae and rotten log, and we have a cow patty.
We just brought in a sweet heat. That's very interesting. I would recommend that with chocolate ice cream, and you've got the sweetness, you've got the chocolate, and you've got this unbelievable hot heat that hits the back of your tongue when you're swallowing. It's kind of fun.
Tommy Flynn's dad bought the dip in 1962. Tommy got it in 1968.
It's my hobby. It's my whole life. It's my wife calls it's my mistress. It's everything. It's 7 days a week.
And it looks as if Velvet Cream's going to be in the family a while longer.
In 2009, my son was going to finish his senior year in college, and he came back from Ole Miss, and I said, well, you get registered? He goes, I decided I didn't want to do that. I said, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to do what you're doing. I said, well, we've got to grow this business a little more. At that time, we had right at less than 100 different flavored shakes, and now we have 258 different flavored shakes.
So that is how the business has grown, more than doubling the numbers of flavors of shakes, and measuring the history of the business by the numbers of flavors available at any particular time. But in a world where so much has changed, the dip stands out like a beacon on Old Highway 51 in Hernando, still like it always has been, with the addition of the drive-thru and a few hundred more flavors. Oh, look at this. The day's getting better already. It stopped raining. Maybe the sun will come out in a little while. I'm optimistic about that. Of course, this optimism comes because I'm standing in front of the Hernando Optimist tent. The Optimist Club here sponsors the A Fair in Hernando, and the proceeds from the fair are used by the Optimist Club to fund a lot of organizations that help the children in the community have a brighter future. Each year, the Hernando A Fair serves as the Optimist Club's one fundraiser. And thanks to all the visitors, the vendors, the racers, and the walkers, the club raises about $30,000 for area charities. So it's a bit of win-win for anyone visiting the fair. And here at the Kids Zone, there's plenty of fun for the little ones. There's face painting, bounce houses, arts and crafts, paintball target practicing, and even a bike rodeo. The weather's turning out nice here at the A Fair in Hernando. I'm not going to need the umbrella at all the rest of the day. Hernando is in the northern part of the state. We're about a half hour out of Memphis on up the road here. Probably you passed the Hernando exit going north and south on Interstate 55. But if you've not stopped and taken that exit and gone looking around, then you've really missed a treat. And speaking of taking a closer look at things, we know a man who teaches a workshop doing just that here in Mississippi, teaching young filmmakers and photographers the art of storytelling.
There's something about the Delta. So much of the Delta, it hasn't changed, and it's a very physical, it's a very tangible kind of space, and when you walk into it, there's nothing artificial about it. We've had 150 people from 23 countries come to Clarksdale to learn how to make documentaries.
So, like I just said, we've been running these documentary filmmaking and photography workshops for the past 9 years. I'm Chandler, and I run an organization called Barefoot Workshops. I'm a native Mississippian, and I run workshops everywhere, all over the world, and the most important program that I run is here in Mississippi.
We are based out of New York City, and we spend most of our time traveling around running these documentary filmmaking workshops. We run them in the Mississippi Delta. Here in Clarksdale, we run them in Cape Town, South Africa, and Marfa, Texas. I'm a native of Mississippi. I grew up in Jackson, and so I left Mississippi and had these great ambitions of moving to New York City and really making it. And I got to a certain point in my life when I needed to figure out where I was from, and so I chose to do it through the documentary filmmaking process and teach people how to make documentaries. Our process has evolved because we've learned how important community is to the storytelling part of the process. When someone makes a film and they turn around and they screen it back to the community with the community, it's a very different experience. You actually see how your story can have impact on people.
And I went over and I said, ma'am, do you know of a stamp machine? Well, I guess it was 20 minutes later, we've been chatting for 24 minutes. I learned about Nanette Roberts.
We have a couple in our workshop, Mary and Daryl Friedman. And Mary's 75 and Daryl's 77.
And so I got back to my group and I said, what do you think about making a story about these two? And they said, sure. So we did it, and you're going to see it.
To come in for 3 weeks at 77 years old, you've got to want to do it. And they held their own. And, we go from 8 in the morning until midnight every day for 20 days with no days off, no downtime. And they did it, and they screened their film last night, and it was amazing.
My table, it was drawn up for my best friend, and East Tennessee Ole Miss and the engineering students met with me and measured me, and then they built it as a class project.
It's wonderful. We really enjoyed it, but we are exhausted. This film was done literally minutes before it was shown, is when we finished it. Hard to believe. We worked right up to the last minute, and the people here are wonderful. We've really enjoyed being in Mississippi. We have people that we've met and will become friends forever.
I started Barefoot in 2004, and in 2006, Allison Fast and I got married in South Africa at the end of a workshop. And so now we pretty much run all of our workshops together around the world, and she's the writer, producer, director, and I'm more of the camera editing technical person. So it's a great combination.
I really want to figure out some way that I can farm for myself full time and have enough cows to be able to support my family.
Last night we had a film about the Brown Family Dairy in Oxford. That is a universal story of a small business, people doing whatever it takes just to make it work and doing something that they're passionate about.
There's so many places I got to be and so many things I got to do. I spent a lot of time driving. We're at the farmer's market store here in Oxford. This milk we bottled this morning came out of a cow yesterday, and now here it is already in the store. We're gonna go.
All right.
See you later. All right, bye-bye.
Well, I've lived in Mississippi my whole entire life. I lived in Lafayette County my whole entire life, and to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about this, but this was even going on. To come here and to see the work that these people have done, and then not only their work, but the other people's story. I mean, this has been an absolutely wonderful experience for myself and for my family, to show that my children, this is what you can do if you want to do. There's opportunities.
When we first came to Clarksdale and we screened these stories back to the community, the response was, we didn't know how cool, we had forgotten how cool the people in our community are, or we'd forgotten how special and important our people are.
Take me to Ruval. Come on, man, let's go.
So we've produced about 90 documentaries in various locations around the world. One of my favorite films is one we produced in Mississippi a few years ago, and David Ray Morris and Susan Wiles produced a film about Duff Duro. All the films matter to me, but that one, for some reason, really resonated with me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you know, all my life I've been looking for something, you know, musically or otherwise, and I always assumed it would be in Memphis or Hollywood or New York or England.
I went to the Barefoot Workshops knowing I wanted to do the story on Duff. I'd known him for years, had been a fan of his music, knew what a colorful character he was. And we got up there and it was just so serendipitous to tell all of this wonderful man's story. A month later, after we finished and screened the film, Duff collapsed on stage at a concert, and almost a year to the day later, after we made the film, Duff passed away.
That story suddenly became very important, and we posted it on the internet, and within 5 months, I think it had been played 10,000 times. And that means so much to me, to know that we made a film that people in Mississippi really love.
Everybody wants to ride, wake up on the other side.
And it doesn't matter where we go. We've run workshops in 22 countries, and in every place, when we screen the stories back to the community, that their response is, thank you for telling our story, and thank you for reminding us of how important our story is.
All the booths are open so you can shop around at leisure and see what everybody has. And something else coming up a little later on in the day is live entertainment. One act following another on the stage, people bringing their lawn chairs, setting up, making an afternoon of it. But if you need to stretch your legs for a minute, it's worth your time to walk around and hop into some of the shops located around the square. Quite a few of the stores take advantage of the A Fair to hold some really good sales. In fact, you can only catch some of these sales once a year during the fair. Miss them, and you're out of luck. Even though you can find some good sales in the shops on the square, and then of course the vendors around the square, we've discovered one thing you can't find. And that's a particular kind of mushroom called an oyster mushroom. But we know of one family who has found them. And not only have they found them, they've written a children's story about the adventure.
One afternoon, my dad asked if I wanted to go oyster mushroom hunting. I put on some socks and my pink farm boots. I dashed out the door with a big basket. It had been raining in the night, but it was a beautiful cold day. Dad said, rain followed by cold makes the oyster mushrooms bloom. We had a school project coming up, and when we did, I actually went oyster mushroom hunting that weekend. So I decided to write about that because it was really a very memorable moment I had, you know, just with me and my parents.
Aria started writing when she was in 2nd or 3rd grade. She had always been very creative with her writing. Her teacher always commented that she was a good writer, and she would bring home these essays, especially about things around the farm, and she composed them into a story type thing where there was a narration rather than just an essay. She was very good at making it readable and likable for the reader. And so that's kind of how Aria just started writing.
My dad said that it would be very nice if two sisters, an author and an illustrator, were able to put a book together. And she's very talented in her art, and the pictures are beautiful.
Aria kind of came to me one day and said, Sachi, I wrote this story, and I think it would be a cool idea to do a book to tell people about the way we live, since not a lot of people know about oyster mushrooms in particular. I was a little reluctant at first because I wasn't sure how people would react to my artwork, but as I started looking around the farm and around the things that I grew up with, I became very comfortable with illustrating the children's book. I wanted to make sure that my pictures depicted what she would see in her story and that it was what she wanted. I went through months of just drawing things around the farm until I got sick of the animals around just because I drew them in so many different positions and this and that. And then I started looking at Beatrix Potter illustrations, and I found that that was the kind of style that I liked, the watercolor with the black ink here and there. And I kind of found a style for me that I was comfortable with, but I went through maybe 100 drawings for this book. So I got kind of sick of art after a while, but in the end I was really pleased with what came out.
She really did bring my words to life. She made it seem so vivid, and she added color in it. It looked wonderful. She was the perfect match for it. I couldn't have gotten anyone else to do it. I was able to design the book, me and my dad's friend Jesse. We were able to design the book and how it was going to be the colors and where everything should be placed in order and stuff, and where the pictures should be.
We had a wonderful friend who helped us publish the book. Her name is Jessie Florence Zenner, and she lives here in Ocean Springs, and she is such a crafty, artfully minded person, and she knows so many things about all different types of art when it comes to printing and publishing. And she's helped my parents throughout the years with our art shows here. And since she's so worldly and as far as art goes, we decided that we would ask her to kind of be our publishing guru and help us go through a few companies. And we tried going through some of the local companies around here, and they said that they didn't know how to format it well. And then we found out that an online publisher would be a nice idea.
I asked my mom to come with us. My dad said she had an eagle eye for spotting mushrooms. We all brought baskets. Dad grabbed the camera.
I was introduced to it when I first came here to this country, probably close to 20 years ago. And my husband showed me, what they were, because one time we found them growing on certain trees, and he showed me what it was. And after that, I got the hang of it. I knew what they looked like. I can identify them. So I know which ones to pick and which ones not to pick. When weekend comes, sometimes I'll be like, let's go pick some mushrooms. We'll take all our baskets with us and go pick mushrooms. Come back and fill up the dining room table. Sometimes we'll have a good pick, and then the table is full of mushrooms. It's just wonderful.
And they just last a few days. The gills are very fleshy, very soft, and then the top C, we'll have another one over it and over it and over it, like the bracket fungus do. But this one's just far too old to even think about eating.
My dad led us to the old red bar next to our driveway.
Y'all remember this tree right here, don't you?
We inspected a dead pecan tree next to the barn. It had oyster mushrooms all over it. My mom said, oyster mushrooms always grow on dead or dying trees. I picked a ton of mushrooms. My mom cut a big one off and let me hold it so my dad could take a picture of me. We went through the pasture where our goats and sheep graze. The sheep began to bleat and ran for the woods. Sheep can be such scaredy cats.
We don't want to ever eat anything that we don't already know is okay. Because if you put it in your mouth, it can kill you.
We walked past a fairy ring of mushrooms, pretty but deadly. Eating some mushrooms, my mom and dad often tell me, can make you very sick, and you might even die from the most poisonous ones. So you must never pick a mushroom unless you have your dad or mom or some other adult who really knows all about mushrooms to show you which ones are the good ones. This is the rule in our house. It keeps us all safe.
There are two types of mushrooms down here that we recognize very well. And there are many other kinds that we would like to know more about, and we just haven't learned about them. But the chanterelles that come in the summer and the oyster mushrooms that bloom in the cool months are the principal ones that we know how to find. Sometimes we get them and sometimes we don't. And when we get lucky, oh my goodness, sometimes we'll find pounds and pounds and pounds of them.
We filled our baskets and headed home. My mama asked me how many mushrooms we found, and I told her millions. I had a wonderful day oyster mushroom hunting, but the best part was still to come. Oyster mushrooms cooked in butter for supper.
They're so tasty. They're so good, So we've got friends that just can't wait for us to go oyster mushroom hunting, and if we have any way at all to share them out, we'll share them out with them.
It was my first time ever going oyster mushroom hunting, and I was really, really amazed. We had so much fun.
So next third Saturday of May, make your way to Hernando to the A Fair. There's a reason why thousands of people from around the state come here every year. Well, first of all, it's a lot of fun, but you're also helping the Optimist Club raise funds for their worthwhile projects in this area, and that's just the icing on the cake. And regrettably, that's all the time we have for this week's show. If you got any questions about anything you've seen on the program, contact us at mpbonline.org/Mississippi Roads. Till next time, I'm Walt Grayson. I'll be seeing you on Mississippi Roads.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.